Serious injury. Have you ever been in an accident or gotten hurt badly? Do you have childhood injuries that still haunt you even to this day? Car accidents, falls, explosions, animal bites, and other kinds of accidents are incredibly distressing experiences to go through. And the injuries you get from them can be irreparable. Your childhood plays a major role in shaping the person you become as you grow older. Adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs for short, are traumatic events that occur before the age of 18.
A lot of this is about your self-image. Where's your duty? Where's your shame? Where's your self-inflicting morality? Where's your pride? So that's the problem with all of this shit. And it's the problem for all these addicts. If you want to wake up and say, what kind of man am I? Am I a drug addict? Well, then go be a drug addict. What kind of man am I? Am I a man who has control of his life and control of his mind? You have to make a decision.
2. Neglect. An equally dangerous and traumatizing kind of ACE is neglect, an often overlooked form of abuse. Neglect is defined by researcher Dr. Glasser as a deficit in meeting a child's basic needs. Child neglect refers to parents' failure to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, educational, emotional support, and medical care to their children. Problems at school. Lastly, but not least, adverse childhood experiences don't only take place at home. Many school-related problems can also be traumatizing for children at a young age, especially bullying. Because a child lacks the emotional maturity to understand that it's not their fault for falling victim to bullying, most of them internalize the experiences.
Having a strong control of your mind and the things that you let into your mind, the things that you let out, things that you take in as input, things that you output. You have to have very strong control of how these thoughts is correlated and made up in your head. You know what I mean? So having a good mental state is very important. That's just not possible.
Have you ever felt that your past experiences have negatively affected your current state of being? Your childhood plays a major role in shaping the person you become as you grow older. Adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs for short, are traumatic events that occur before the age of 18. If you experienced ACEs, you may suffer from poorer physical and mental health and emotional trauma. According to the National Survey of Children's Health, over 61% of adults in the United States reportedly experienced at least one type of ACE, while approximately 1 in every 6 people experienced as many as 4 or more. With that said, here are the 7 most common kinds of childhood trauma, or ACEs. 1. Abuse. Whether it's physical, emotional, or sexual in nature, abuse takes a serious toll on your mental health and is by far the most harmful of all adverse childhood experiences. Being abused or watching a parent or sibling being abused, especially at a young age, can lead to a number of serious, often long-term psychological consequences. It gives you a negative outlook on life, damages your self-esteem, and leaves you struggling with constant feelings of loneliness, emptiness, and hopelessness, even as you grow older. According to a study conducted by Teacher and Anderson, child abuse and domestic violence also puts you at higher risk of developing clinical depression, PTSD, and tendencies of self-harm and suicidal behavior. Statistics also show that approximately 30 to 40% of children who were victims of abuse grew up to become abusers later on in their lives too. 2. Neglect. An equally dangerous and traumatizing kind of ACE is neglect, an often overlooked form of abuse. Neglect is defined by researcher Dr. Glasser as a deficit in meeting a child's basic needs. Child neglect refers to parents' failure to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, educational, emotional support, and medical care to their children. Some of the most common examples of child neglect include the following: abandonment, irresponsible supervision, severe punishment such as starving a child or threatening them with violence, and emotional neglect such as dismissive behavior, being unsupportive, or being absent at important life events. If you're a victim of child neglect, you may find that you have difficulty forming healthy and stable relationships as you grow older, or maybe you're already experiencing this issue now. Check out our video, How Your Childhood Affects Your Lifestyles, to learn more about the impact of early childhood experiences shaping your adult relationships. Number 3, mental health issues. Mental health issues considered to be adverse childhood experiences mainly refer to the mental illness of a parent and how it can negatively affect a child's life. According to the Yale Medicine Child Study Center, over 15 million children in the United States live with a parent who has been diagnosed with severe depression. Because depression compromises parental bonding and nurturing, depressed parents have been found to interact with their children in ways that seriously impair their development. They tend to be less supportive and less affectionate with their children, and as a result may severely neglect your emotional needs and cause you to grow up to be emotionally stunted. Number 4, risky behaviors. Risky behaviors are defined as any potentially health or life-threatening behaviors that endanger the safety and well-being of both the parent and their child. The most common kinds of risky behaviors are alcohol abuse and substance abuse. Because children are so susceptible to the examples and influences of their parents, it's no surprise that if you have an alcoholic or drug-dependent parent, you're more likely to develop substance abuse problems of your own in the future. You're also more likely to struggle with feelings of shame, guilt, and isolation, suffer from lack of attention, have a fear of anger and conflict, and suffer from depression or anxiety. Number 5, serious injury. Have you ever been in an accident or gotten hurt badly? Do you have childhood injuries that still haunt you even to this day? Car accidents, falls, explosions, animal bites, and other kinds of accidents are incredibly distressing experiences to go through. And the injuries you get from them can be irreparable. Fractures, burns, the loss of a limb, brain damage, and the loss of major senses such as hearing or sight are all examples of adverse childhood experiences. Number 6, serious illness. Aside from injuries and accidents, being diagnosed with a serious illness can be considered a traumatic childhood experience as well. If you're a child who has battled deadly or infectious illnesses such as cancer, heart problems, and malaria, you may have often felt isolated from your peers because you spent so much of your time being treated at hospitals or clinics. According to a study conducted by Schilling, Asseltine, and Gore, the severity of your symptoms might also restrict your lifestyle and keep you from doing the things that you want, while your parents may suddenly become more controlling and protective. And number 7, problems at school. Lastly, but not least, adverse childhood experiences don't only take place at home. Many school-related problems can also be traumatizing for children at a young age, especially bullying. Because a child lacks the emotional maturity to understand that it's not their fault for falling victim to bullying, most of them internalize the experiences, and you may have wrongly come to believe that you somehow deserved it. It warps your view of others and of yourself and leaves you struggling with feelings of loneliness, helplessness, depression, and anxiety. The emotional and psychological scars carved into you by your childhood can be so deep that they stay with you well into adulthood. Acknowledging your pain and understanding your trauma is the first step into the journey of healing from it. By learning to accept your past, no matter how terrible it may have been, you're making a conscious effort to move on and keep it from defining your future. Have you experienced any of these traumatic events when you were a child? Are you still struggling to get over it? Reach out to a mental health care professional today and get the help you need. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe to Psych2Go for more, and we'll see you later.
A lot of this is about your self-image. Where's your duty? Where's your shame? Where's your self-inflicting morality? Where's your pride? So that's the problem with all of this shit. And it's the problem for all these addicts. If you want to wake up and say, what kind of man am I? Am I a drug addict? Well, then go be a drug addict. What kind of man am I? Am I a man who has control of his life and control of his mind? You have to make a decision. I just don't understand how you even took it in the first place. I can't fathom with all my massive computation in my mind, as smart as I am, I can't work out why you thought that was a smart thing to do, or why it was worth doing, or why you continue to do it. I don't understand. I'm genuinely asking you in a non-patronizing way, not trying to make fun of you. I don't understand.
Having a strong control of your mind and the things that you let into your mind, the things that you let out, things that you take in as input, things that you output. You have to have very strong control of how these thoughts is correlated and made up in your head. You know what I mean? So having a good mental state is impossible. You know what I mean? It's very important. I should say not possible, because you need a you know what I mean. So how you override the disadvantages that come up in life. You know what I mean? The depression when somebody may pass, or not getting that job, or a breakup in a relationship. You know what I mean? Having a strong mind, having a strong mentality helps you get past these things. Help you, know what I mean, deal with these things, you know what I'm saying, in a better way than if you had a weak mind state. You know what I mean? It might just break you.
It's true. And I agree. But how important it is to have a good mental state. It's extremely important. It's the most important, because the mental state is how you control every situation you're in. You can't control it. I'm not talking about controlling and meaning like dictate what happens, but I'm talking about control how you respond. Your mental state is how you're going to look at life. Your mental state is how you're going to attack things. Your mental state is how you're going to have a good relationship. Or your mental state is how you're going to be with your kids. Your mental state is how you're going to treat your parents. Your mental state is how you're going to treat strangers. Your mental state is how you're going to have discipline. Your mental state is being on, it's literally everything. Every aspect. And your mental state also connect with your spirit. Because the thing that your spirit try to tell you, or the oil try to show you, or life try to show you, the test you, you're going to never be able to identify it because you don't have a good, strong mental state. A mental state allows you to have self-reflection. A mental state is real. It's like one of the most important things. It's maintaining your direction in life. Now, I mean, it's like if you use a weapon, you use pointers at something. Without a strong mental state, you're almost like a Uzi. Ba 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 ba. All the guns, the bullets going everywhere. You over here, you over here, you over here, over here. With a strong directional state, it kind of fits like a beam, like a blind zone. Okay, I'm doing this. Because you have a strong mental state. Now I don't get fucked by no other distractions. I'm doing this.
And then, but you have to be aware of who you are and because you.
That's having a strong mental state. Yeah, that's self-reflection, like I said.
Because you'll be because there's so many people who's just like that. And very focused and mentally strong in the aspect of, you know what I mean, if it's getting up to work or getting money and stuff like that.
Other things they weaken.
Yeah, because they're not recognizing the other things.
You gotta check all the boxes though. You gotta check all the boxes.
That's why you gotta be so self-aware yourself.
But that's the big part about it. That's the biggest part, because you got all the other aspects.
Yeah, that's why.
But self-awareness allows you to go in all aspects.
Yeah, because that's why so many people hang themselves, take poison, shoot up schools and all of that, because there was something up there that was weak and they never dealt with that. I was getting good grades in school, you know what I mean, hard worker, going to work, boom, 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 but you know what I'm saying, there was cracks that they maybe didn't even see. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can't see. That's why being so self-aware is important. Being aware of who you are, knowing who you are, is so important. Because it's like when you were saying, like, you know what I'm saying, how you treat other people. That's so real, because without a proper mentality, with a proper state of mind, without proper complete thinking, the problem starts because you're not treating yourself good. So if you're not treating yourself good, how can you know how to treat anybody else? The first starts with self. If you don't know how to properly treat self, you ain't not going to know how to treat nobody else.
And in relationships, if you're the guy, your insecurities or the way you look at yourself is going to rubber for your partner. If you're a girl, the same thing. And I'm pretty sure everybody that's looking at this have seen it, or even experienced it, or even did it. And you know this is not bullshit. Like, that shit will affect. Because what is it called in therapy? I believe it's called self-rejection. When you're projecting what you would do onto somebody else, because that's what you would do. Know what I mean? And then through your self-projection and through the hate of, I don't want to say hate is stronger, but I think that is hate. Through your self-projection and the hate of yourself, you start, know what I mean, pick out the other person. Being mean to the other person, hating on the other person, because what you really being mean to is yourself, because you see yourself in them, and it pisses you off. Yeah. And they're not really doing it most of the time. Then what the fuck are you talking about?
But it's a spiritual thing that's going on. We one in one. So all you're doing is hurting yourself. But you,
it's like a ripple. It's like a ripple in the water. You know when you do a ripple?
Yeah.
You see yourself with many of yourself, like, it's all you, but it's like everybody running to is like fragments of yourself.
That's exactly what it is on a higher level, but on a low level, since you're not even, it's easy to hurt people that's close to you. You You know what I mean? It's easy because you're seeing yourself within them, so it's easier to hurt people. And that's the real reason there's so much wild shit going on in the world, because people don't have no love for themselves.